right, this is the review. We're going to go through what we would have tried to get through today. So let's go ahead and look at linear transformations where we left off. This is on the bottom of the page. It says linear day 2. All right, so we have y equals a, x minus c plus d. Remember, this is things you have to know. A is a reflection, and it flips over the x-axis. All right. And then if that A is negative, so I'm going to put that it is. If it's negative, it means it's going to flip over that x-axis. If my A then is between 0 and 1, it's going to compress, which means it's going to be less steep. And if it's greater than 1, it's going to stretch, which means it's going to get steeper. And by stretch, I always imagine, see if I can do it with my fingers, that you're pulling it from the top and the bottom and making it thinner. Okay? That C is going to be a plus C is going to mean it's going to go to the left, and a minus C means it's going to go to the right. Okay. And that D, if it's plus, it's going to be up, and if it's going down, if it's negative, it's going to be a down, or if it's going to be a subtraction, it's going to be down. Normally we do well with this. Just remember, inside is going to be my left and right, and my outside is going to be my up and down. Okay? All right? Most of you are doing really well with that, but I don't know if you had to use your notes for it. All right, so let's go to systems. So we did not look at graphing by solving by matrices, so we can ignore that just a little bit, but both equations must be solved for y. So we must have them both in y equals form, okay? So if it crosses at one spot, we have just one intersection. If they're parallel, which means they're going to have the same slope and different y-intercepts, then they're parallel and they're not going to intersect, so there's going to be no solution there. If it is the same line, we'll have the same slope and the same y-intercept. Everything will be the same. So I wanted to look at this on the calculator also. So what I've done is I've put let me turn the light out. And on Monday, we'll have a little bit of time on Monday, so if you want me to go over this with you on Monday, I can. It's going to take a minute for it to adjust just because I just turned up the lights. We can practice this on Monday if you want to. So I went ahead and graphed two equations. I put them in my F1 and my F2. If I want to see that intersection, I always hit menu, and I'm going to analyze. Remember, for quadratics, this is also where I can get my 0 and my minimum and my maximum. But I also can find that intersection. So 4, and it's going to ask for a lower bound. It says lower bound in this bottom left corner. So I'm going to just go to the left of that intersection, and that's already highlighted for me because I'd already done it. And then I'm going to go upper bound, and I just click on the middle of the mouse, and it's going to tell me what that intersection is. So for that line, it was 2, 1. Just remember that on graphs, anything you need to do on the graphs, you use your menu button for. Okay, we did not solve by matrices, so you can mark that out. Solving systems of inequalities. So we also did inequalities here. And so we need to remember that if it's a less than or greater than, it's going to be a dotted line. And that this one has the y's greater, so we're going to shade above. This one has a less than or equal to, which means it's going to be a solid line. And because it is less than, we're going to shade below. So this one has the dotted line. They graphed it for us. So the solution is going to be where they overlap. Solution is where they overlap. Now, there is a way to do this on the calculator, but I didn't teach it to y'all. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I was so... I didn't teach it to you because it's actually one of the functions that they require us to have blocked for y'all on your STAR test. So you may have a teacher in the future who shows you how to do it on the calculator. And that's awesome because it's a really cool feature, but it is blocked for star testing purposes. So our solution is this overlapped part. So a question they may ask is, they may give you 4 points and say which one of these could be a solution. Okay. All right. Let's look at quadratics day 1. So our parent function is y equals x squared, where our domain would be all real numbers, and our range is going to be y is greater than or equal to 0. When we graph it, so we have the axis of symmetry, the vertex. This is probably a little more familiar to you because you've done it recently. My x-intercepts, which can also be called solutions. They can also be called the zeros. They can also be called, I thought there was one other name for it, but I can't think what it is right now. But just know there are several words we can use for that. Roots, that's the other one, sorry. We have vertex. It'll be a minimum if it's at the bottom and opening up. This is when my A is going to be greater than 0. And it'll be maximum when my A is less than 0. Alright, so our x-intercepts are also called solutions, roots, and zeros. And all 4 terms are used interchangeably on the star, so be sure you know all 4 of those mean x-intercepts. Okay. Alright, so we have quadratic transformations here. So we have when my my A is less than 0, which means it'll be negative. Then this is going to be a reflection, so it's going to be a flip over x-axis. If it's between 0 and 1, it's going to be compression, which means it's going to be wider. And if it's greater than 1, it's going to be stretch, which means that it is thinner or more narrow. Just like before, when we have our inside of parentheses, that's going to be our left and right. So if it's plus C, it's going to be left. If it's minus C, it's going to be right. And then our D is going to be, if it's adding, it's going to be up, it's going to be down. So it's the same as our linear. All right. Our vertex is CD, but we can also do that with not second trace, but we do it with menu. Menu, analyze graph. Also, know if you're looking at transformations, you can just put them both in the calculator and see what's happening to it. Use that calculator to your advantage, okay? It can help you check your answers. It can help you work some of these problems, so trust in that calculator. All right, writing quadratic equations. Which quadratic function in vertex form can be represented by the graph that has a vertex at -5, -8, and passes through the point 116? Well, vertex is going to be my C and D. So I have y equals, I don't know my A, but I know my C. So it's going to be plus 5, or be minus a -5. Let me write it that way just so, because my formula is x minus, I'm going to do x minus -5. That's where I get my plus 5 from. Squared. And then my D is -8, so -8. Okay, that's great. Okay, so that helps me with a little bit. I can already eliminate C and A because they both don't have this setup correct. So now I need to know, is it going to be opening downward or upward? So one thing you can do is put both those equations into your graph and see which one will pass through this point by using my table feature. So we would do menu table. Or you can plug in this x and y into this equation and solve for A. Honestly, that's a lot more work to do that for both equations. You could see which one works out. You can plug in the x right here of 1 and see which one it worked out for. But honestly, putting them both into the calculator and looking at the table is probably the easiest way. And for this one, we would have gotten D. All right. We're going to stop there. The rest of it we're going to look at on Monday. Just some last minute stuff to go over. If you have questions about this video or questions, if you're like, Miss Joel, I really need to look over this on Monday, please let me know. Send me a message on Teams. I will check Teams on Sunday. Or if you have my phone number, you can text me. Your parents can text me. Because I know several of your parents have my number and they can text me, or you can email me. If there's something you say, hey, on Monday is something I really need us to look at, then please let me know. We will have about half of our class period on Monday where we will finish this up, and I can look at a couple last minute things if you want to. We can also Tuesday, before I go pick up the test, go over any last minute things you want to. I know this was kind of just a quick video going over a little more of our review. I encourage you to, if you know there's a topic, there are some videos online over some of those topics you can look up. You can also, if I don't have a video made on my YouTube, encourage you to also look at Khan Academy if you want. I do want to reinforce this. Don't stress about this test. You have learned this material. I am confident in each and every one of your abilities, each one of your ability to be successful on this test. You all have worked hard this year. It's going to pay off. So please don't stress about this test. Enjoy this weekend. Hopefully you're watching this video, and y'all have a good, safe weekend.